All right, we are live. My guest and my good friend and soon to be yours today is Jason Rule. Jason, how are you today?
I'm good, Azar. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Jason and I got to talking this past May at the GHL SaaSpreneur. It wasn't the SaaSpreneur, I think it was their Elite Mastermind, and a very
Yeah.
good group of people in that room, right? Like people who were speaking, like Frank Kern, people like Jason Rule with GHL plugins, and Jason's got an amazing history of stuff that he's done. So I wanted to like pick Jason's brain and find out what's going on. Jason, do you mind just giving a brief about who you are? What led to the creation of GHL plugins?
Yeah, sure. So been married now for 25 years. We just celebrated this month. No, last month. Yeah. Father of four. We've got a blessed family for sure. Um, I've been an entrepreneur since I dropped out of college at 20 years old and gone through several different uh, lives that I've lived in different industries. And my I got into automation and marketing when I owned supplement companies. I used to own two of them, sold those shortly after COVID ended. And with the supplement companies, I needed to learn automation. And I unfortunately I did the hard way. And instead of hiring somebody a lot smarter than me, I thought I just needed to figure it out. So I jumped into it, started learning Infusionsoft and some of those hard things. MiniChat, when it first came out, I remember when Mikhail came out on stage at TNC, like he had a white t-shirt, didn't even have a logo. I mean, they drew this octopus using a Sharpie on there. But I was blown away by MiniChat because the ability to be able to actually connect with other people quickly inside of a platform that I mean, it was the Wild West, right? I mean, people were just opening messages left and right.
Hmm.
And so we built out a heavy load of automations for both supplement companies, and in that I hired a very talented software developer, and once I sold that, I continued to stay in touch with Ezekiel and hired him for a few jobs, and through that, about 2 years before I sold, we transitioned from Infusionsoft over into High Level, right? Found this tool and I was like, oh
Right.
wow, I don't have to use Plus this, I don't have to use Infusionsoft and all of these expensive tools. I could do it all in one. And so I introduced Ezekiel to High Level because MiniChat had the same native builder, right? The ability to kind of drag and drop and connect A to B to all the way to Z, and if you could visualize the client journey. And so once I sold that, I kept an agency for myself, not knowing what I was going to do, but I just like automation. I like nerding out and stuff, and started bringing on a few mentoring clients, and they needed help with different things. I just take a look at what are the problems that they're solving, what are the problems that they're trying to solve, and then how can I increase the speed to outcome for these guys. And
Hmm.
as I started doing that, I started finding that there's things that High Level just couldn't do. Things didn't exist, right? Things had to be bridged, or you needed Zapier and stuff like that. So I kept hiring Ezekiel to do these jobs, and he came to me one day and he said, Jason, I have an idea. He said, let's stop building stuff for you and your clients. He said, I actually have a core group of developers and even an engineer that we have, that if you invest some money, I can afford to pay these guys, but we need 6 months. We need 6 months with just nothing else to do. Um, and I just asked him, what do you need? And he told me. And so I said, okay, let's do it. So that was November of 2 years ago. And we launched our first plugin in February, 5 months later, 6 months later, roughly.
Hmm.
And since then, now we've got 37, 38 apps in the App Store. We're over 20 plugins, and mainly what we do, I met Rob and Alex in at a at an event JC and Karen Height put on, and somebody introduced me and said, "What do you? Oh, somebody told me you build plugins. How do you come up with the ideas?" I said, "Well, basically, we use your idea board for target practice." And he laughed and he said, "That's funny. So do we." I said, "I know, but that's all we do." So what we do is we say, okay, what are the biggest problems that agencies are trying to solve? What's their biggest
Hmm.
friction points? and we pay attention to that by the vote. And then we have two North Stars. We take a look at the idea and we say, okay, can it be white labeled? Is this something that we can build that the agencies that are using our tools, their clients don't know we exist? And number two, what is speed to deployment? How quickly can an agency click this and have access to all of these other things? So I think that's about a 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute introduction in terms of how GHL plugins came to be and kind of what we're about. At least I hope I
That's
kept
very
it short and
exciting. That's
concise.
very exciting, man. Congratulations on all the success that you had. And one thing that I was just noticing when you were telling me that, obviously I've met you, and you like to take care of yourself and all of that stuff, and you're coming from the fitness industry. So have you noticed this, or is it just me that people related to the fitness industry are really enterprising and very like hugely entrepreneurial mindset? We see Alex Hermosi coming out of that
Mhm.
industry as well, right? Like, or is it just like, what do you think? Am I out to lunch on that?
No, you're absolutely right. I think that, in fact, I posted about this a couple years ago. I think the greatest marketing minds in gyms, or the greatest minds in marketing, are coming out of the gym space. And one of the reasons I think that is, and by no means am I putting myself in that space at all. There's some amazing intellect in the gym space. But one of the reasons I think it is there's only so far that you can. There's only like, what are you going to do? Are you going to sell diets? Are you going to sell workouts? Is it programming? Is it community? Is it the gym? I mean, no, at
Yeah.
some point you have to get better at optimizing your offer, and then optimizing your pitch, and then doing a better job getting in front of eyeballs, because there's only so many people that are going to work out in a 20,000 person town. So you have to get better
Mm,
at, agitating their pain. And in that, in CrossFit, 13 years ago, there were only 2,000 gyms, when I
mm,
sold the company. And that's primarily where I was in the CrossFit space. There was about 13,000 CrossFit gyms. So survival of the fittest, that was their motto. Well, I think it really related to survival of the fittest of the gym owners, who can do the best job creating a pitch, creating a good offer, and then drawing people into the class, and then optimizing the client value, because they're gonna see churn in 18 to 24 months.
yeah.
So I think you absolutely nailed it on the head. And the reason is because it's evolution. Like, they had to get amazing, they had to study the best marketers in the space in order to survive.
Yeah, and then also like I've seen that people have gone on to build these amazing businesses like you have, right? Started out in the niche that you did, but I think the discipline the people in the health industry have, that's a natural to them, right? Like we might not like school and stuff like that, but we're self-disciplined. So
Yeah.
that stuff is like hard to come by, right? Getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and just doing it for consistently year after year. The other thing is that you see all these amazing people within your city come into the gym, work out, and you're seeing like this person is doing that, this person is doing that. So your creativity, you're naturally a person who loves this type of stuff, but now you've got discipline, which is the key to doing anything. And then you're getting naturally these ideas by looking at people constantly daily basis who are like hitting it out of the park in their daily life. And the creative juices of the entrepreneur starts flowing, and one thing
Right.
leads to another. Somebody's running a multi-million dollar gym focus, somebody's running, a friend of ours is running a agency focused on MMA studios, another one is on martial arts studios, and like there's so many amazing agencies out of this, just agencies alone, uh, let alone setting up businesses like you are for like operating in all the niches now. And so very impressive. Love the story, Jason. GHL plugins
Thank you.
is definitely, and Jason sounds comes across very humble, and he is, but his resume is extremely impressive on the amount of stuff that he's done. Built multiple 8-figure businesses, sold multiple businesses, and right now what you're seeing is the crux of everything that you've done is kind of inside GHL plugins. So
Right.
without any further ado, Jason, I think like I'd like to pick your brains and get into our first segment, three more questions. And my first question for you is, the GHL onboarding engine is
Mhm.
designed to enhance client adoption and reduce churn. What sets this apart from the other systems that are out there? I think this is one of your plugins that you guys have designed, and
Mhm.
so, and I think like the unique part that I like about it is that client adoption, right? I think that's a big part of the process as well. So adoption and reduce churn, but like, how is it different than anything else out there right now, or what can I build?
So, a couple of years ago, people started using something called Utisful, right? It was just this overlay and this basically this modal that would pop up and people could click on, hey, I did this, hey, I did this. Two of the things that make the onboarding tool incredibly powerful that I don't think you can see anywhere else is we actually use what's called a routing function. So as an agency, once you've identified, hey, this is where I want my new clients to go. So to give everybody some context, right? So the first time you log into a sub account, the onboarding tool creates this modal over the top on the right hand side, and you've got one through whatever number of steps that you want to take the new client, the new user through.
Hmm.
The first thing that happens is when somebody clicks on it, it actually routes them directly to that part of the sub account. Or they can click the play button. The play button allows you to be able to drop. Now we have white label videos in there of, hey, this is what you do using our 15 step. But you can make your own white label videos, drop them in there, and it overlays another modal. So you can say, hey, here's where you're going to go. This is what you're going to do. This is why you're going to want to do it. So you're able to create a snippet of, hey, here's the story behind it, but you're also able to guide them directly to the area that you're wanting them to go. The last step that really separates it beyond anything else is it's tied to our task management system, which a task management system is basically a white labeled, well, it's not a white labeled ClickUp. It's something that we created. And the only thing it does is it creates a task management, a ClickUp style, Trello style board inside of not only your agency sub account, but you're able then to brand it white labeled across all of your sub accounts if you want them to be able to use it. So back to the question of onboarding tool. So imagine that they click step 1 through 13. They've gone through 13 of 15. We're actually able to, since we're fully integrated, we're able to tag that contact and progress that contact card through the task management system to say, hey, they did step 1, they did step 2. Now they're here. Now, the task management system also has the ability to be able to produce procedures as well as automations. So imagine that contact that user has been sitting there now for 2 days, right? We all know they get 80%. It's the last 20% that actually reduces churn, not the first 80%. So what ought to happen here after, whether it's 2 hours or 2 days or 2 weeks, whatever an agency wants to say, build the automation for that. Somebody should be reaching out to that person and saying, hey, how can I help? Meet them where they are, take them manually through those next steps. So I believe it's the tagging function of tagging the users to the stage in which they go, but also being able to create a visual representation on the task management system
Creating a task
and the
for a
power of being
human
an
being
automated.
or a team. You've created a task. Now automatically that task can go in red as soon as it's 2 days. That's how agencies are doing work, right? They're doing inside ClickUp or any of these task management tools. So where it's natural
Mhm.
to us how work gets done. Just this automating the onboarding process, I think, with a task management system, I think that's very well defined, and would love to get my hands on this, Jason.
Cool. Let's do
All
it.
right. So, how about how? Here's another question for you. How can an agency owner start using chatbots today? Like, what's like? I know, like we're just starting to dabble. I know a lot of agencies are doing it. Let's just expand that. Not just agency owners, but small business owners or entrepreneurs. Like, what's like one area where somebody can like deploy a chatbot with maximum return on investment?
Ooh. All right. You caught me off guard there because first off, I don't sell chatbots, but I've got a few reps in that, not in terms of the chatbot itself, but one of the things that I would say
Or
is
let's
actually
let's
here's
replace that chatbot with like a key automation, like what's that one
Mhm.
automation, AI driven automation that we all need
Yeah.
right now that we can easily deploy?
Yep. So agencies or clients of agencies,
That's a good
which one?
question. I think agencies is who is watching here. So let's see. Let's stick with agencies and see what happens. If there's
Hmm.
something we can give to the agency owner, Jason, that these guys are already cutting edge, but a lot of us, what we're doing is, what I've seen is that AI is there for the sake of AI, not just because it's solving a particular, like, a major issue. And
Hmm.
you know so I kind of want to see, like, where would you start out inside a agency that's just starting to grow from 10,000, $20,000 and going towards that seven-figure mark?
My first thought, just because it's always easier to keep a client than it is to get a new client, is I would check to see, do they have a problem with churn? And then I would consider, how can we increase engagement with our existing users and clients to get them to engage in the tool and make it stickier, as well as how can we use a chat bot using AI for support, whether it's connected to a white label knowledge base or something like that, where we increase the speed in which we can respond to a client's need. So that's one way that I would do it. I would start there. Now, in the terms of marketing and actually driving in traffic, I'm not super great at that. That's not my jam. So I won't be able to provide too much guidance on that, unfortunately. Azar, I can't hear you. It looks like you might be froze.
Sorry, guys. I guess we're gonna have to edit that out. I don't know what happened.
That's right. I was sitting there thinking, a friend of mine was on a podcast and they lost connectivity, and this person was an amazing DJ, right? So
Yeah.
they had the ability to just at a whim, they're like, oh, I guess we're having technical difficulties. I was sitting there staring at the camera going, I wish I had that level of charisma to help anybody out that's sitting there staring at me, staring at them. So
I know. All right. So, yeah, you were gonna say, I think you were just about to drop a bomb, Jason.
I don't know about a bomb. The did you hear the part? Did you hear the part about client support?
um yes, you mentioned that, you the first thing you would want to look at is churn, right?
Mhm.
So if there is a churn problem, what would you do then?
Right. I would use chatbot to increase uh, speed to lead. Basically, I mean, he's saying that Dan Bailey talks about how fast can we get back in contact with that person, or how fast can we connect AI to a knowledge base to be able to bring the result to that person, whether it's level 1, level 2, or level 3 service before another actual person, your staff or a VA gets involved to be able to help solve that.
Yeah,
I think that reducing
yeah,
churn and reducing bandwidth on the team would be one way to do it.
yeah. And I
Um,
can I can tell you, it's not, if you don't look at the churn issue early on, it's always going to be there. It just gets magnitude as you grow. So it's better to just, like, hit it early on, right? So have a solid system early on, and then also, like, on the deliverabilities, right? Like, what are the processes, or what's your service, what's your claim to fame, and just try to do that better using AI at that point. Because it's really, like, churn is, like, related to better service, really, right? Because people are leaving because, yeah, they don't get hurt and all of that stuff too. But is it yeah, I think we're good now. So yeah, so I think that's a great point. Start out by solving churn early on, and we should be good to go. All right, so here's another question for you, Jason. Running a business can be tough. We all know that. How do you train to operate or to operating a growing agency? Like I'm talking about any kind of training, like could be physical training, mental training,
Mhm.
whatever that is. Like how do you equip yourself running a growing agency?
Oof, another good question, man. So for me, like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years, a lot of different industries. So for me, I found um, I do best not stressing myself out. So for example, I wake up every morning about 5:30, 5:45. I drink coffee on the deck and I'll read fiction because fiction allows me to be able to get out of my head. It just allows me to, not only that, but one of the things I found is, books are condensed wisdom. Usually they're condensed experiences from individuals, and they try to condense that in. It's a longer version of a quote. So I really enjoy reading fiction, and then I'll alternate about one business book out of every 5 fiction that I'll read. Kindle helps me a lot with that. And then my routine is I exercise twice a day. I'll do 3 miles on the assault bike before I start my day, and then I stretch for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'll be 50 this year, so I have to stay active. Our youngest son is 10, our oldest is 23. So we're nonstop. We're going nonstop. So having a healthy balance of having a good diet. I drink water all the time. I always have one of these sitting at my desk, and not burning myself out. You know, it
Hmm.
it golf. Do you golf?
Really poorly.
Me too. Me too. Um, but it's really business, health, relate friendships, spouse. I found that it's not a matter of hitting the longest drive on the course. If
Mm,
you just keep out of the bunker, life's just a lot easier. Just make progress day after day after day. Um, and like the gym at this age, I just tell people, people always give me a hard time because I don't go super hard in the gym. And I tell them the only reason I'm there is I do just enough to be able to come tomorrow. And
mm,
that keeps me out of the bunker. So I've got enough reps in business that I know what will burn me out or won't allow me to be able to sustain a certain level of output. So knowing
mm.
yourself is a big part of it.
Yeah. I think like enjoying the journey looks like for listening to you, that's kind of what you're talking about. Like, right, I heard this quote that, when you learn to enjoy the journey, the destination just becomes another milestone for you, right? Like it just keeps happening as a byproduct instead of, I need to get to that point. Like, so it looks like
Mhm.
you're having that's kind of my mindset as well. What's your favorite, now that you mentioned books, what's your favorite business book, and what's your favorite fiction?
Mm, let's see. Fiction. I think the greatest books I've ever read on fiction are Gamache, um, the Gamache series. There's 17. It's been about 2 years since I finished that series. Um,
Really?
something
I'm gonna
Pines,
have to check.
something Pines out in Canada. It's just beautifully written. Amazing book, amazing. 17 books, and she's writing
Nice.
one about every year and a half, 2 years. It's the Gamache series. Those are my favorite fiction. Just poetic, amazing. There's a lot of psychology and a lot of philosophy built into the characters, and I really like that. From business, I like anything by Benjamin Hardy. He's doing a lot of really good stuff. 10x is easier than 2x. Who Not How, those types of books. I love Malcolm Gladwell. Um, Seth Godin, of course, he's one of the goats. So I can't go wrong with any of that.
Nice, nice. I'm just writing these names down because it'd be interesting, right? Because with books, like, for a particular person, like I can see this is what Jason's achieved, to understand his path. Let's see what he's been learning and who he's been learning from and things like that. And
Mhm.
I'm familiar with some of these people, and I've probably read or listened to some of these guys' books as well. But it'd be interesting to see more of their work now that you mentioned them and things like that. So very interesting.
Right on.
All right, so we're having a lot of fun, Jason. we're on to our next segment, which is going to be our 3 more ideas. It's going to be a rapid fire round. I'm going to throw a few words at you and let's see what comes back. So, number
Oh, here we
one,
go.
customer support.
Systems. Have tight
System.
systems. You can't have customer support unless you have systems. You simply burn out. Everything does.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Like you burn out people most of all if you
Mhm.
don't have that. And yeah, automate, SOP, and then delegate. All right, fantastic. That's nice and sweet. Here's number 2. Okay, so let me rephrase this one. In person versus remote work.
Oh, in person. I
Really?
love. Yeah, I love. I mean, I still can remember sitting down across from you having breakfast at buffet. I just like breaking bread with people.
Love it. Love it. All right, and here's the last one. Coaching and mentoring.
Quick thoughts are the difference.
Yeah, just quick thoughts.
Yep. Coaching is teaching somebody specifically how to do a thing. Mentoring is teaching people that the map is not the terrain.
Hmm. The map is not the terrain. Wow. Very well said and very deep, I must say, Jason. What do
Thank
you
you.
mean by that? Do you want to quickly elaborate before we break out?
Yeah. So all of the steps, all of the step that it takes required, I'm in Nixon, Missouri, down by Table Rock. Like all of the steps that it takes to build a road between here and Kansas City, which is 3.5 hours north, there's a lot of things that have to happen, right? There has to be engineers. They have to bring the road up to grade. They have to blow out sides of mountains in order to make the road mount. It's a lot of work. There's just a lot of crap that needs to be done. But somebody had to sit down and they had to focus on the map. And they had to say the best way to get to Omaha is actually to go from Nixa to Kansas City and then to Omaha. And so as a CEO, as the owner of a business, it's important to work. Everybody says don't work in the business, work on the business. Well, I say there's a level above that, which is above the business. And if you focus on the map, everybody hears the 20,000 foot view, but at the same time they still start working on the business. But if you draw up and if you're taking a look at the overall map, you're not worried about the valleys and everything else. You've got engineers to be able to navigate all of that. They're going to bring in
Hmm.
road graders. They're going to come in with a whole crew of people and cut down the trees. But if as the CEO, as somebody running the business, if you can say we're going to go from Nixon, Missouri to Kansas City, figure out the best path. And Benjamin Hardy talks about it in his book. It's getting better at explaining what does done look like.
Hmm.
So the map is not the terrain. All of the things that have to be done can only be done once somebody says you're going to start at point A and you're going to end at point B.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. You get that kind of gets you away from the tactical and the day to day. And yeah, love that, Jason. This has been a pleasure, my friend. I hope to see you soon. I think I'm going to be seeing you at the next GHL event in
Mhm.
Dallas, and we'll catch up
Yeah.
there. And it's been an honor and a privilege. I think people can reach out to you by going to ghlplugins.com.
Yep, they can.
Fantastic. Jason, thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking out the time. We'll see you in Dallas in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you.